Exactly. Okay. We are streaming live. Technology willing. My internet's a bit unstable as well, so who knows what's going to happen today. Oh, goodness gracious. All right, so welcome everyone that is joining us today. Those live, there is a Zoom link jumping over into Facebook if you want to join us live. And of course, Lou's just put up the link for the Facebook live stream to make comments over there as well as we go through. So any questions that you've got, any conversations that you want to have. I am joined today with Sharon Francisco, business coach to bookkeepers. Welcome, Sharon. Hi.
Thank you, Katrina. It's good to be here. One of my favourite subjects, so it's cool.
Yeah, awesome. And also joined with Helen. Helen's just jumped in. Hi, Helen. Thank you for joining us. And the advisory queen. Will we call you that? You're on mute if you want to jump off mute and say hello.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, still learning.
Yes. Yeah, that's we're all still learning. Every one of us, no matter what level we're in, we're all still learning. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, so Helen is joining us because she talks highly of advisory. Like you've got a high level of knowledge and experience with advisory. So you said you would be on the call today. And you love talking about advisory. So it's good to have you on the call. So thank you. For those others on the call, please feel free to share your video so we can see your faces, or stay hidden if you like to have a bit of anonymity. I'm not going to say that word correctly, but you know what I mean.
We know what you mean.
I think it's that time of day today. I think we're going to have a bit of fun. All right, so today is all about what does advisory mean to you? So I'm passionate about this subject too, Sharon. This is, I love advisory work. So my bookkeeping business, probably, I don't know, maybe 50-60% was in bookkeeping, but a big portion of my business was around advisory and consulting. And when I sold my business, I insisted that the advisory was counted as part of the pricing of the turnover that is sold, because it is an ongoing connection you have with clients that you're constantly giving advisory or consulting work. The clients come back. That it's not just a once-off advisory consulting touch point with a client. It's an ongoing service that you do provide. So if you can get this right, and as Helen said, we're constantly learning new skills around advisory. So Sharon, did you want to start off with what advisory means to you? Because you coach a lot of bookkeepers, and you ran a bookkeeping business, and you admittedly say that you are not a bookkeeper. But, we are in the business of helping bookkeepers get themselves off the books, get themselves off the day-to-day entering, so that they can provide this advisory work, this good value work. And Sharon, you would identify what this advisory work could be for clients. So, what does advisory mean to you?
You know what I reckon the big dirty secret out there is?
I love a dirty secret.
Another dirty secret.
Based on that, I'm going to shut the door.
I reckon and when I first saw this to the fullest extent, I was coaching accountants last year on how to sell advisory. I coached over 20 accountants on this in this short program that I did. And I've seen it more now that I'm working mainly specifically with bookkeepers, some accountants I work with, but we're already doing it. It's already happening. We're already doing advisory, except that I guess the challenge that we need to overcome is to be able to charge for what we're doing. So we know that we're doing something that's not technically bookkeeping, but but we're not exactly charging for it. We're not differentiating those two things. And it's like for you, for when you sold your business, to be able to stipulate the separateness of that's compliance, this is advisory. I think, I mean, you're ahead of your time, Katrina. Like really, it's, I think we are doing it already. And I think, you know, I sort of had this discussion with Helen yesterday. You know, my sort of version of advisory is when I was coaching the accountants last year, they were so knee deep in doing compliance. It was really hard for them to lift their head up and go, okay, well, that's what I do there is different with them, to be able to separate it. So that's got to be something that we consciously do, I think, and then define that about what is it that we do that is different to the regular compliance. And generally it's something that's going to be helping them have a look at their business in a different sort of way. It's not your standard bookkeeping work. It's not your reconciliations. It's that where you're looking at a higher level on the business, I believe. And so my discussion I had with Helen yesterday was anything that's not ATO driven. But then Helen was like, well, no, there's some stuff that I do that is ATO driven. So Helen, I'll hand over to you. What's advisory to you?
Okay, so we've always offered, well, I wouldn't say always, because we do it quite a long time, but so the last 3 years we offer app advisory. So that is where businesses and accountants will often get a lead to say, oh, you know, this client needs a payment service, or they need to implement an inventory app that can, you know, work in with their Zero File or Mild, you know, can you help them out? So that's the app advisory that we would offer. So we would go off, we'd go meet the client, sit down, work out their needs, explain how the whole system works for us and everything else. And we would go off and we would research all the apps that are available in the marketplace. And then we'd go back to the client with our best 3 that fits all their boxes that they choose. So that's our app advisory. That includes then making the initial call to the one that we want to mostly test, like the last 3 that we come down to. I mean, in the background, I've already spoken to probably 10 companies, you know, had the demo. So there's a bit of work involved. It's not, yeah, I can do that, make a few calls. There's quite a lot involved with app advisory. And once we've decided on a product, we would then do the training with the client, with staff members, so that we understand the product if it's one that we haven't used. And then we would help them implement that product. So some apps, for instance, will help you with the onboarding process, but somebody has to get that data together. So that's where we would assist and do all those spreadsheets and everything so that the app company can just, you know, upload into the client's new software. So a lot involved in that. There is good money in it because there is a lot involved. And I'm always upfront with clients to say this can take 6 months. To get you fully onboarded and using it efficiently, it's a 6-month process, because a lot of people think it's, you know, download the Stripe app, connect your software and off you go. It's not like that when you're looking at specific software apps that help, you know, with your business. Yeah, so that's one thing that we do.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And imagine a client going out into the tech world looking for an app solution, and going to the 3 or 4 or 6 different apps to find out, you know, which one is most suitable to them. Who else is there out there that's going to say, well, I know 3 or 4 of them. I know how they work. I know the clients that are using them. I know, you know, the outcomes that you want, you know, which one is best suited. So it sort of makes sense. And like, it's certainly not bookkeeping work. It is not, shouldn't be charged as bookkeeping work. It is like, imagine the skill that you have acquired over the years in working with the different apps. And sometimes the apps have just come to you because you have a client using that app. So now you know about that app. So now, you know, so you haven't gone out of your way to find out about that app. You're often already working with those apps because your clients are. So, you know, you've got that experience and that knowledge. So imagine the hours of experience and training that you've done by default because you're working with it, and curious about what other apps are out there. And we go to conferences and we inquire because we want to know in case there's something we're missing out on. So, you know, there's a lot of time and effort and energy expended to get to that point. So the clients don't want to do it. The clients want the answer. So, you know, it's an awesome place to start with the advisory. I think that's
if a client isn't doing their bookkeeping themselves, then they won't want to research apps. That's generally, so you get some little firms that, you know, the wife might be doing the bookkeeping, and then you can give her a few leads, have a look at this, have a look at that, discuss it with your partner, see what you think. So they're happy to go and do that research. They've got that time. But most of the clients we work with don't have that time. And their in-house bookkeeper, they don't see it as a role that they could, I don't know. I've never really asked, why don't you get your in-house accounts person to do this? That never really came up, but it's something we do. And what I find is beneficial is, yes, you get to know apps already, so you're saving on that additional research each time you get a lead to find clients' apps. And also, like for construction, I have one go-to person, and he's across all the apps. So I'll just give him a call. I'll say, this is the client, this is the needs. Find me, you know, give me three good ones. So he'll go off and do all that for me, and they don't charge me for that. They're simply, well, if we can get this client onboarded, that's our subscription monthly fee. We've got that one locked in. So, you know, you get to know people in the industry that can just help you with this. It could be other bookkeepers. It could be, you know, putting a Facebook post. I see them often. Has anyone, you know, what do you recommend for this kind of business? So you can get your resources from a lot of different places if you're not sure where to start. But yeah, it's a good income stream doing app advisory, but it does take time. And as long as the client's aware it's not a quick fix, but you know, the outcome's fantastic. If you pick the right app for them, it just makes everything easy for them. Yeah. So and that would be one that we would do.
Yeah, and as you said, it is good money that you can get. But what I would recommend is that you try and stay with a few apps.
Yeah.
So that you get to know a few apps really well. I know when I started, when, you know, Xero came out and all the app marketplace came out, and, you know, I love doing inventory and practice management, if you like. So I did go towards Unleashed, Vend, and Workflow Max at the time. And I chose those because they all sat inside of Xero's headquarters at the time. They rented office space at Xero. So if they are supported by Xero, then you know that they are reputable, they're going to go well, whatever. And remember, this is early days. This is like 10 years ago when all the apps were coming out. So I specialised in Unleashed and put that into, you know, my inventory clients, and specialised in Vend for my retail clients. I'm not advocating that they're the ones to choose right now, but they were 10 years ago when there was very little around and you had to jump into something. So find out what, you know, others in the way to, you know, choose your apps for advisory, find out what others are doing. There are a couple of businesses around that are sort of specialised in apps. I can't remember.
Clarity Street is one in Melbourne. Clarity Street.
What's it called?
Clarity Street.
Clarity Street. Yep.
So she specialises, Amy, I think it is. She specialises in Workflow Max, that kind of thing. So they help you with onboard practice, you know, ignition to Workflow Max and that whole process. So companies do. There are quite a few, I think, now popping up.
There are. I can't think of Jerry Murphy.
Generally, a bookkeeper offering this service, and this is what we've always found. I can't think of one client where we just went in, did the app implementation, and off we went. You will often get the bookkeeping job, but you'll be their go-to person for the bookkeeping. So if they're not on you know, Xero, where it will, so we find a great app, and if they're in MILD, we say to them, look, it's not going to work. It doesn't integrate with MILD. You know, these are your choices. You're going to have more flexibility. So that first step would be getting them into a software program that we have more choice to choose from. Thank goodness a majority are on Xero now anyway. And, you know, once that's all up and running, they want you to make sure that integration to their accounting package is right, is correct. is the, you know, whoever's managing the new app, are they doing it correctly? You know, so you sort of tend to then get, oh, can you start reviewing the best? Can you start doing this? And you tend to become their consultant for all things software.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, so that's one stream. And our other advisory service is, of course, our management reporting that we offer on a regular basis. So
yeah, and
we've discovered one more, but I'll talk about that one in a minute.
No, that's good, because management reporting is one that's very interesting, because a lot of bookkeepers think it's just bookkeeping services. It's part of what they do as bookkeeping. So I'd love to actually hear from anybody on the call today, or anybody in Facebook land, ask any questions. What do you think? What does advisory mean to you? And what, you know, maybe even share a story about what advisory work that you do, because we, you know, delve deeper into the management reporting and so on. So we've got a few people on the call. Is anybody willing to jump off mute and have a chat? I will see that you come off mute if you do wish to. And looks like everybody's shy today. That's okay. All right, so Tanya, you didn't want to come off mute? Only because I know you. Know the name? No?
I think
Picking on me today.
There we go. Tanya's, so hi Tanya, you share your video if you'd like to. But what does advisory mean to you? What advisory are you? There you are.
I probably do, like Helen, a lot of app advisory. Lots of clients aren't tech savvy or afraid of the whole. I find a lot of people are afraid to go paperless and cloud orientated, I guess. So especially tradies and that sort of thing that I deal with. So app advisory has been a big thing, especially for tradies that are starting out and finding the best apps that suit their business and what they do. So that's one thing. And I also find the other big demand is from the medical industry, finding the right system that they like to use that fits exactly what they need as well. So yeah, app advisory is probably one of the biggest things.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Do you do a lot of management reporting and any of that type of business advisory other than apps?
Not so much. I do sort of like your end of month reporting and that sort of thing. And you know, it's usually just a Zoom meeting or an email or whatnot, just to catch up and see how you go. But a lot of that financial advisory I leave to accountants that I work with.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Did you have any questions or, you know, leading into the advisory conversation that we're having? Or are you happy to listen?
It's probably something that I'm really bad at charging for. I tend to do it as because I'm a nice person or I just can't figure out how to actually charge for it.
Okay.
And I always use it as sort of a training tool for myself as well. If I've already got the answer for everything, then yeah, I charge them to set up and whatnot. But most of the time, if it's research and that sort of thing, I'll end up not charging for it because I'm learning stuff myself. I'm on the way, so I sort of bank it, I guess, which is probably not the right thing to do. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe we can have a chat through some of those things that you've mentioned today as well. So thank you. Thanks for contributing.
No worries.
Anybody else want to jump off, or should we? Nope. That's okay. If you do, that's.
Tanya said was a key point where she said she would tend to leave the financial reporting, the monthly reporting, to the accountant. So that's where I think a lot of bookkeepers do that. And I'm not saying they're missing out on that income stream, because I do have one or two clients that we would produce all the reports, and I make it clear that if they want to discuss the detail of the, what's in certain accounts, to, get together, book a call, whichever. If they're wanting to discuss the bottom line, profit and loss, the actual thing, some accountants want to do that with the client. They don't want you doing that. So I understand Tanya saying leaving that to the client, but when it comes to drilling into the information in the profit and loss and getting percentages out and finding where money goes more than other months, I think the bookkeeper's got the best advantage to do that, because we know what's in those figures. The accountants don't. Like, I've sat in many meetings with accountants and clients, and the accountant will say, bring your laptop in, because he wants to see what is sitting in advertising and marketing, what's inside that, because he doesn't know. They're not into the file that at that level of detail and depth that bookkeepers are. So I think that's where bookkeepers can really, really have that. For me, I feel that's really where they should be advising, because they know they've got that knowledge. Accountants don't. They only look at the end figure at the end of the month, and that's it. So I think there's a really big market for bookkeepers to do that, instead of leaving it to the accountants who don't have time, and the accountants don't do it regularly. Doing it every quarter is not enough for a lot of businesses. It needs to be done monthly at least.
Yeah, exactly. And the accountants have a different view on it. They might be looking at the big picture, or the tax planning. They might know that, what's going on in their life in terms of, they want to buy a property, or they want to, expand their business, but they're not at the day-to-day level. So I think we still have that opportunity, even if they are meeting their accountant once or twice a year. But often clients don't even meet their accountant at all. They just get their taxes done and they get no feedback at all. So it's having that conversation with the client to find out, what it is that they want, what feedback do they want, and offering it to them, and running through the information. As you said, we are, because you want to do it straight after the end of the month. What are these transactions that have happened? Why is your gross profit reduced? There's no point going back to the accountant, and usually your tax return's not done for at least 6 months after the end of the financial year, and then it's all too late. So, maybe there is things that are happening to the bottom line and your expenses that you could consider well before they go and see the accountant. So does the client value that type of feedback straight away? So I can see Scott's made some comments over on Facebook land around TradiePad is an app advisory. So they help with tradies and construction. And also, Profit First is another, source of learning advisory skills, and putting the Profit First philosophy inside of your clients as well, having that consulting, advisory time with them. Sharon, was there something that you wanted to bring up? Do we want to discuss that it is okay to charge more for advisory, as the couple of things that Tanya brought up? Is there something you want to address there?
Yeah, I was just thinking, when you said before, I reckon we give, in the nicest possible way, we give accountants too much credit. It's like, I feel like I was in that world last year, and I coached over 20 accountants, some in small firms, some in really big firms. They don't have enough time to do this stuff. Like, even tax planning, I had to make them book in, like, ring up your client and book the meeting in to see your client to talk about their businesses. Like, so number one, they're just like, I say us, like, they're just like bookkeepers, where they're just like busy. And then I think it's also like a bit of a protection mechanism for us to say we're busy, so then therefore we don't have the opportunity to book the time in to talk about the advisory or whatever. But that's kind of a little bit convenient too, because it's a bit tricky to pick up the phone and book in the meeting and so, like, talk about what. And then, so if we're not clear on that. So, and the other thing is, they have just as much trouble as us to be able to do that. The confidence around charging extra, like, it's all the same story for the accountants. And what I get excited about when Helen and I talk about this, it's like the opportunity is amazing, because no one's out. The accountants aren't doing it. I can tell you some are, but they're not doing it at the level that we think they are. it's probably just as much as what the bookkeepers are, as far as the opportunity is massive for us to step into this space. And I got to tell you, I love Helen's approach. She kind of comes in the back door. She sells advisory, and then what you were saying before, you tack on the compliance at the end. Oh yeah, and we do the, you know, the reconciliations, the compliance sort of work as well. So you're kind of coming in the back door. And that's kind of what I guess you've heard me talk about. Communication is the response you get. So if you're communicating, like in this instance, Helen's communicating, hey, we do app advisory. And so all of a sudden they're going to go, oh, great, we need that. So there's a need in the market for that. Helen talks about app advisory. So of course they're going to go, yeah, we need that. So then the response Helen's getting is, yeah, we want that. And then Helen goes, okay, well, there's an amount that you pay for this, which is higher than compliance work. And all of a sudden you're having that discussion. So the response Helen's getting is a yes from talking about app advisory. I think what we normally do is go in and have a discussion about regular bookkeeping. So the response we get, so if we've got a list of, you know, our 3 price lists and they're all just compliance work, the response we get from that discussion is going to be a decision based on the compliance work discussion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's putting it out there to have that discussion.
Yeah, it's like Ron Baker, like those questions that we ask initially. And I mean, I always think we have to divide between, we have to be really careful about thinking, because I think what we generally do is go to our own clients and we're like, oh, imagine having the discussion with our own clients that we do 100% compliance with. And then all of a sudden we say, hey, we're advisors. And it kind of makes you get a little bit of vomit in your mouth because you think, oh, I can't have that discussion because I sold compliance and I'm now an advisor. So I always think it's really good to test that out on new people that don't even know, and that you're testing that out on the new people that, you know, prospects that you're talking with, and then just having a couple of key questions. I mean, that Ron Baker book on value pricing, in that he's got it's my cat. he's got a whole bunch of questions that you can ask in those initial discussions that open up a discussion around where they're headed and what they want from their business. And that then leads you into a discussion around whatever I think it's really got to be around what you feel comfortable with. So Helen's got a connection with somebody that she knows she can get on the phone with straight away and learn about all these different apps that she can then feed through to her clients. So the comfort level is really high to have that discussion. I feel like if we're not comfortable about what we're going to talk about, that then makes that discussion like really tricky to talk about. And we know, like what Scott was talking about, we know we've got profit first. We know we've got the gap in New Zealand. We know that we've got people out there teaching you. I mean, we've got an awesome workshop coming up, Katrina, haven't we?
We do.
We'll be talking about that kind of stuff. So it's just a level of getting comfort around having those discussions.
Yeah, and I know for myself, I was in exact same position in, you know, doing the bookkeeping and then sitting down with the client in, you know, around a boardroom and talking about their figures and walking away and going, well, having my same invoice, you know, invoicing the same hours, the same rate, bookkeeping rate. And I don't know at what point that I made the decision that, you know, it's got to change. And maybe it was my mentor that said to me that, you know, that's higher value work. So it's like putting a different hat on. You're putting your bookkeeper hat on and doing the data processing. And then, okay, we've got a management meeting. So I'll take my bookkeeper hat off and put my advisor hat on. And now I'm going to walk in at the room at $150 an hour, or, you know, whatever it is, that you now, knowing that you can have those conversations or upskilling, you know, getting more comfortable around those conversations around, you know, management reporting and stuff, but understand, like letting them know that it's a higher value work. It's a different quality that I am providing to you. You know, I might have the staff now doing the bookkeeping, because that's where we're wanting to get to, is have the staff, you know, you get yourself off the book so you can now provide this advisory work because we're all so busy. So it's the change of hat. And then I got to the point where you'd do the bookkeeping and the owner would sit over your shoulder and go, oh, can you just help me, you know, with this bank loan? Or, you know, whatever it is, whatever question. I don't understand my metrics or my, you know, my numbers here. And sure, I could do that, but I'll just finish off this bookkeeping work and then we'll make a time, or I can sit down afterwards and do that. But they've already been wised to know that the consulting is at a different rate. So it's not them taking advantage of you to say, okay, I'll just sneak in this, you know, advisory question while you're bookkeeping. It's like, no, well, let's stop, let's make an appointment and discuss that separately. And that is a different hat. So that's the way that I merged back into the consulting, rather than just charging everything at bookkeeping rate. How did you start that role, Helen?
When I started to put staff on, I had that discussion with the clients to say that I won't be doing the bookkeeping, but I'll oversee everything. So they were told up front that someone else is doing the bookkeeping. When they would ring me and say, oh, this month this person paid, but you've got to just do this adjustment or create a credit, whatever, I'll just say to them, send it to me in an email because I'm going to forward it to Sue, who does your bookkeeping. So I had to keep reminding them. So, and I say to them, if there's something I can help you with, you know, end of month or your reporting, let me know. But anything bookkeeping, I'll touch base with Sue and we'll get back to you. So I started to just keep doing that. And I do have clients that ring and talk about maybe a grant or something, and then they throw in a bookkeeping. I'll say to them, ring Sue and let her know. You know, or email me and I'll forward it to Anna or whoever. So I tried to, and I've said to Sharon, they don't know sometimes I'm doing the bookkeeping. If we've got a new client, I will actually do that first initial review and clean up because I need to get to know the file, but they don't know it's me. They just think it's my team doing it. And even when I've got a query, I just jump on the phone. I say to them, you know, such and such is working on the file. She's just had a question, you know, and I just want to get a better understanding from you as to what the nature of that transaction really is. So they sort of understand I'm their go-to person at the start. Eventually, once things are all moving, like obviously, you know, clients now ring the girls directly. That's what I need them to do. So it's easier I found it easier then to have a different fee for me. If I'm doing something in their file, it is a different fee. If the girls are doing bookkeeping, it's a different fee. So we sort of, I thought that was my way of introducing it. And when we do app advisory, that's a package thing. So, you know, and there's additions to that too. You know, it's no different to building a house and you have, you know, your additions to your original quote. And I say to clients, allow for 10%. Allow for 10% on, you know, roughly in the ballpark of this amount, whichever. So, yeah, they're aware of that too. So,
yeah, no, that's awesome. And I also want to address that point, Sharon, that you came up with the accountants that you coached last year, and a lot of them don't do advisory. They don't have the time, and some of them don't have the skills or understand the clients that well, and you know, haven't approached the client. So it's interesting that you say that, because a lot of bookkeepers do think that the accountants do that work. And as you said, we put them on a pedestal knowing that, oh, they do special work. You know, what do? You know, it's so much better than us. And they're like, you know, they can charge 3 times the amount because they can, because they're called an accountant. And the realization that, you know, there are probably as many accountants as there are bookkeepers, if not more, in Australia. And we only hear about those accountants that are vocal and perhaps on social media or are held in high regard. And we think that that's what, you know, they do, that, you know, because they're so, you know, supportive of, you know, the industry and on, you know, forums and on webinars and those type of things, that's what they do. But if you dig down underneath to look at, you know, 70% of the accountants out there, or even perhaps 70% of your clients that don't get the support from the accountants, there is still room there to be able to work with your accountants in that way.
Yeah, definitely. And I sat in the room, like we would have monthly meetings with the smaller accountants, and we'd have quarterly physical catch-ups with the large accounting firms, and it was just the directors that would come to those meetings. And it, like, to be a fly on the wall in those meetings, and I was a participant quite a lot of the times. I'd do some presentations in those, and they'd be those bigger ones for 2 to 3 days, sometimes in, you know, beautiful parts all around Australia that we'd travel to. But the overwhelming thing that I got initially was accountants are just pummeled with work, the same as bookkeepers. They're just busy. They're so busy. And so there's that's going to be a barrier to talking to business clients about, you know, any kind of working on the business stuff and helping them out. So there's that first barrier. And then that second barrier, some of those discussions in those rooms were just about the sheer fear of in a meeting with a client to step outside of a compliance discussion into an advisory discussion is a big fat leap. Like, that is a big leap for an accountant to make. In my experience, what I saw, and I can only tell you what I saw with my own eyes and heard, then even if you're brave enough to have that discussion, to then go ahead and charge for it accordingly. That would make their brains explode. Like, it was just like, that's just, so I think you're right. Like, it's there are some out there doing exceptionally well and been doing it for long. I mean, Ron Baker, for goodness sakes, has been value pricing since 1989. I mean, there's always going to be those standouts, but it's like Facebook a bit. You know, you look at those pictures on Facebook and you think, oh, their life's perfect. And it's, we know we know it's not true. We know they've still got their stuff going on. So I think there's that. But the other thing I'd say as well is make yourself a unicorn. And that's what Helen's done with this app advisory, making yourself a unicorn and making yourself either skill up in an area that's unique, that not many other people have done, or hire that skill in. So then you can charge accordingly. And I reckon this really speaks into, you know, when people say, oh, I don't know where to niche, how do I niche? It's like, sometimes that just comes from having a connection that knows all about apps. Then you can talk confidently about apps, and then all of a sudden you're an app expert. There's your niche. You know, you can go into that niche of being an app expert. The other thing that we did was, you know, we worked a lot with the accommodation industry. So there was a point of sale system, which the name escapes me. I was trying to remember it before. It's been a few years. Not many bookkeepers knew that point of sale system in the accommodation industry. So we hired bookkeepers that knew that. So it made it a lot easier for when we got work through, that they knew that point of sale system. And the other one is, like, we had an inquiry from a solicitor that worked with Leap. It's a software program for solicitors. And so we hired a bookkeeper that knew Leap, that knew about Leap. So then, of course, she's a unicorn then, isn't she? So that's where you get to charge the higher price for that. So I think it can be, you know, taken in all different angles. But I think trying to get yourself to be a unicorn is a really good way to be able to up your prices, because it's really hard when you're a diamond. It's pretty hard you've got to charge the diamond prices, right? When you know a special skill that not everyone knows, I think you can charge accordingly.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I love the idea of using your skills, like you might have experience, like, you know, we've all come to this role wherever we sit right now, we've all come with a lot of experience, whether it's decades of experience that we're already bringing to the table. And in that experience has got unique experiences, you know, unique knowledge, whatever that is. Like, we might have worked in a particular industry, or have a passion in something in particular. And that can be your niche. That can be where you gravitate to and build out your services and become the unicorn in that thing that you're passionate about, and bring that into your circle as well. So it's one way of thinking. You know, a lot of people will just think, well, you know, I can't do advisory, I don't know where to start, or I don't know, you know, what to niche in, I don't have a specialty. Just think about your passions, your genius zone. We spoke about that a few weeks ago. What it is that you want to, do, more work in the one area. And yes, Helen, you've got apps. Is there a certain industry or certain apps that you like to work with that you do grab?
Sometimes we get leads from accountants, and it could be an industry I don't even know of. So I'll get in touch with the client and I'll just say to them, I'm not familiar with that industry. I'm not familiar with the apps for your industry. So I'm going to go away. I'm going to research them all. And I just tell them I'll research the best ones, that I feel like I base it on reviews and different things and speak to different people who may be using it. And I'll do a demo of them. And then it's a matter of just narrowing it down. So you don't always, I don't feel you have to know all the apps. There's over 700 on the Xero marketplace. So you're not expected to know them all. And sometimes ones that you may have disregarded in the past and now suddenly done some update and it's the whiz new bang thing. So you need to be aware of that too. Like, a good example is Robin Flynn, who was all for, is it Asana? Was it Robin? Yeah. And then suddenly they've done a change and she's moving away from it, or someone was. So that happens a lot too. And sometimes you have to revisit these apps again to just see what are they offering. So
I can see your unicorn is technology, is apps. You love apps, so you don't necessarily, you say you're not niching in one particular one, but you are open to
I find that if it's part of what we initially sell to a new client, we sell efficiency and effectiveness, and the apps will help us do that. So I've found that in my own business. The moment I started implementing apps, and I think Sharon's seen my app stack, and I was actually shocked when I put it on paper too. I should bring it up and show everyone, but I had to step back and think that can't be right. And then I realized I actually forgot one or two. So, it's quite, but I look at that and I think, I know that could be overload, but that is what's helping me not need a bookkeeper for my business. And all those apps are helping, whether it's for client engagements, communication, or the staff, and I'm building on those all the time because I don't want to be doing anything manually. So it is important to me, and I let clients know, we've got a new app, this will do this and this, and it's, like Carbon. I ensure clients send us information via the Carbon portal because I don't want that information sent in emails. I don't want you to give me your date of birth in an email kind of thing. So I think it's also letting the clients, like I could be just looking up something for myself and I think, such and such, this would be really good. So I could just text the client and say, or email or ring them and say, hey, I'm just looking up this app. It's doing this and this. We could have talked about something quite a long time ago, and I just might send them the link and say, have a look at it. This might be good for you. So I'm not selling it to them. I'm not pushing that service. It's just I'm being honest. And, I haven't done that with everybody, but I think that's how that's sort of all come about. Clients will now, look, we've got this problem with job sheets and this, and the guys on their iPads, and, can you check out and see if you can find anything that will do this? And that's what that call is. It's just that kind of call. Accountants the same. I know that I would be doing something. I came back from an accountant seminar once, and they were showing, how you can, through XPM and DocuSign and this and this and BGL and all these programs, and you could do something in 2 minutes, And I got on the phone to an accountant. I said, hey, I just came from this. I saw this. You can do this, this and this. And then suddenly when they think of apps for their client or new technology, they're like, I'll call Helen. She's onto that stuff. She loves it. So it's not something that I don't need to go out and look for. It just happens. It's similar to our reporting. So when we do pricing for new clients, and even when we renew pricing for existing clients, we do the package thing, which is custom designed for them. We don't have set packages, but we look at their business and we look at what they're paying and how we could do additional services to help them if they want that. So it's there, we offer it, And it could be getting your reports by the 7th of the month instead of the 15th. You get this package and that's going to get you all that kind of stuff. You could have package A, which is just, the whiz bang of everything we do, and package C is maybe just do the bookkeeping and that's it, no custom reports, and you'll get your reports by whatever date of the month. So clients see that and they choose what they want. So that's a good place to put your add-ons also with other things you do, So I think it's just letting people know that you can do that, and it is a service that you offer for those who are just doing bookkeeping and want to move to advisory. And we had this discussion yesterday, Sharon, like a new client I spoke to, we spoke all about, what are the issues, the cash flow, the debtors, the this, the that, whatever. We didn't talk about the bookkeeping. It was all about all the advisory services and the compliance and, you've got those issues, we'll deal with them on your behalf. And hey, are you going to do your bookkeeping, or is that something we're going to do? So that was, and I was telling Sharon, I said to the client, if you do your bookkeeping, it's going to cost you more, because you're going to make mistakes and we're going to spend more time fixing them. If we do your bookkeeping, it's going to actually be less. But it's built into this package. They don't know what's what because it's all included. So it's just, I think, how you word it and how you can sell it. But, don't focus on the bookkeeping. And, I did a presentation this week and I said to Sharon, I was really proud because I went through the whole presentation and I didn't say the word bookkeeping, reconciliation once. It was all about the things that we do for clients and how we can help beyond the bookkeeping. The bookkeeping is just, it's the basis, It's like you're going to get that no matter what, but it's the other things that we're going to be able to help you with that you may need. So
yeah, and it's just having giving you that lead to have that conversation. So what other services that you do provide, and making those phone calls to your clients to let them know of something that you've recognised either in their figures or something that's going to help them out. So it's because you understand your clients so well, not so much the accountants understanding their clients on a day-to-day and the services and what's going to help them efficiently. Like accountants don't care about your systems or don't care about the client systems or the efficiencies that they're not about to make suggestions around efficiencies. They just know you've got a problem, so go off to somebody that's going to solve it. So that's where we, do get to step up, and we will never lose our role as a result of this, and never lose the ability to have that advisory because of it as well. And it's the conversation and the connection you have with your clients to be able to step you up into that area and be able to offer it, and for them to trust you to actually approach you and say that, I've heard of this, or I want to do this, or, how am I going to do that? We know our clients ring us regularly to ask an answer, like, I'm looking at leasing, should I lease or hire purchase? And that was something that I got all of the time. They didn't go to the accountant, they'd ask us which way to go. So it's and even bank loans, will you help me with the bank loan? It's that relationship we have with the client, which is one of the things that we're going to actually talk about in our workshop. I'll bring it up now as it's a segue into it. That we are holding a workshop in October the 19th and 20th that Sharon and I will be doing a lot of teaching around this, around the client relationship and moving away from the compliance into the fuller service and the advisory work, and how we can do that, how we can step you through that journey. And also the idea that a lot of bookkeepers have a relationship with their client where they might only be the employee or seen as the employee or the contractor. Whereas why not build the relationship up and show you the journey that you can take to become an advisor or partner with that particular client as well. So it's, the whole learning around this workshop that we're going to be doing, or the 2-day intensive, is around building yourself up, building your skills, identifying the relationship that you have, working with the mindset. And then there'll be exercises, of course, around, who is your ideal client? Who is it that you want to work with? The conversations to have. How do you bring that pricing in? So there's, we're pretty excited about this workshop that we're building. Got lots of, breakout rooms, there'll be masterminds, there'll be game plans that we're going to be working on as well, but it's all around setting yourself up to add value to your clients, to build that advisory service and take it as far as you want to go. It might not be that you want to go full pelt into being an advisor and a partner within the business, partnering with your client. It might be that you just want to understand the figures that you are presenting to them. So it's just, everybody is in a different stage of the journey. And that's what we want to bring to the table and let you, workshop and do some practical exercises. So the registration for that will be coming out next week. So Sharon, did you want to have a comment about this little workshop we're building?
Yeah, look, the thing that I'm so passionate about, like I know we talk about advisory as if that's a skill. It's like a skill, and the leap from going from compliance to advisory is a big leap. And it's not just a skill, as it's not just a technical skill, it's a belief as well. So I think we've got to talk about the belief right alongside of the skill here. And it's my absolute passion, because if we could all go into advisory, we'd do it tomorrow, wouldn't we? And the reason why, and we've all probably got the skills to do, well, I can't say I do. I say it as if I'm a bookkeeper. You've all got the skills to go out and do that. I mean, you could go and buy Profit First tomorrow. You can go and educate yourself, take you a few months to educate yourself on some sort of advisory you could offer tomorrow. But the thing that stops us is the stuff that's going on between our ears, which is that belief stuff. And the thing that I absolutely love, I mean, I know I've talked about this before. I hung out with a whole bunch of thought leaders for a couple of years. And the book that was bandied around the most out of all those thought leaders was a book called Mindset by a doctor called Dr. Carol Dweck. And she talks about fixed and growth mindsets. And we're all kind of shaped with that mindset from a young age. And essentially what a fixed mindset is the belief that our intelligence is what it is and that we can't change it too much. It's like we're either intelligent or we're not. A growth mindset is that we can actually grow and learn and develop our skills. And the thing that happens, and we all sort of go in between both of them, but we'll favour one side apparently. And the thing that I think that is important to understand is that we can change. If we are more of a fixed mindset, we can go over to the growth mindset to be able to develop, to get the confidence to be able to offer the things that we need to offer, which in this case, it's the advisory. So working on that fixed mindset and knowing that we can build on those skills to go across and develop the things that we need to develop. It's called Mindset. And sorry, Jacqueline, it's called Mindset. I've got it on Audible. You'll see my other books there. You'll see that I'm a fan of all the things about the mind. But it looks like that, the front cover. Yeah, the top one there. Mm-hmm. And the author's...
Oh, sorry, you're just saying who's the author and you were about to say it.
Dr. Carol Dweck, D-W-E-C-K. She's a bit of a legend. She's got a TED Talk, and honestly, she's an amazing woman. The book is incredible, but the TED Talk is as boring as batshit. It's really hard to get you to stay focused on, because she's very monotone with it. But if you just take away the monotone and listen to her message, it's amazing. So yeah,
awesome.
Okay. That's the kind of stuff I'm going to be really diving into in the workshop. I just love this whole mindset stuff.
Yeah. You're the mind and I'm the practical. Let's sit down and do the worksheets and the tick things off and things. So it's a good it'll be a great workshop. We're very excited to do that. All right, so we're coming up to the end of the hour. So I'd love to hear from the audience of your takeaways from today. What did you love about today? So anybody wants to come off mute, and everybody else might like to jump over to the Facebook live stream and type in there what you've loved about today and what your takeaway is.
Katrina, I have a question for everyone. Can I just, and everyone can just put a comment at a later date in Facebook. So we had this discussion yesterday and I just want to try and pin it down. So if bookkeepers are doing work for JobKeeper, for grants, for super audits, negotiating on behalf of the client, and even the accountant doesn't want to have a bar of it, so you're getting these jobs, do you class that as bookkeeping or advisory?
There's a practical question for the bookkeepers. Does somebody want to jump off mute? Jacqueline?
I charge differently. So, but I wouldn't say it's advisory. I hadn't thought of it. I probably would have put it into admin.
Would you charge at a different rate or at
I
a
would
bookkeeping
charge
rate?
it, probably charge it a slightly higher, and I wouldn't include it in their fixed price. If they wanted something extra, it would definitely be extra. And Kaz has put up, for a legal point of view, we are unable to charge application. We're allowed to charge them for it, but they're not allowed to claim it if it's tax-free.
Oh yeah, I'm not just meaning JobKeeper and grants.
Yeah.
No, it's just,
No.
it's overall, it's different. Like I know a lot of bookkeepers did grants and things like that. You do SG statements for your clients and they're just doing it at the bookkeeping rate. So yeah, I just wanted to know.
I would think the grant's probably a set fee. And it depends on the complexity of the grant as well. And yeah, it wouldn't be at a bookkeeping rate, because if you're doing a grant that's going to take you 3 hours to do, then, and they're going to get $3 million or, you know, whatever, then, you know, it might be a $500 or I don't know, $800 or something. Because you've got to research, you've got to know that stuff, you've got to, you know, learn a lot of stuff, and it's as Kaz said, it's not covered in the scope of work within the insurance. So that's interesting. I wasn't aware of that, if it's not covered in your PI insurance.
It's an ad hoc, particularly for the grants, if they're asking for their financials, it's something extra to our bookkeeping work. So it probably would come under advisory. But does that covered by insurance?
Yeah, well, I'm wondering if it's not covered by insurance because it's not included in the scope of work. So the engagement letter doesn't say that you're doing the grants. Well, then, you know, maybe the insurance is not covering it because it's not included in the engagement letter. Possibly that's the reason. What
somebody was sending out a permission to do it letter, and it depends also whether you're applying for the grant or whether you're just giving them the figures. If you're just giving them the figures, that's an advisory service, my guess. But if you're applying for the grant on their behalf, that's both. Or it's advisory and admin, because it's not really bookkeeping.
But it does require a specialised knowledge. To go through all of that. So I think we're getting now too technical. This is
I'll just jump in with mine. Can I just jump in, Katrina? Yeah, sorry. I'll just throw in what I you know, my spin on this. I don't do it. I'm like, go to this accountant. It's not my thing. I'm not prepared to do all the research, and look how complex this conversation is.
It's coming, April, it's coming from the accountant to you, because the accountant doesn't have time to do it and doesn't.
I know. Okay, I know an accountant that's
and they know that you're dealing with this all the time, so they are recommending their clients to you for you to do. Some of them are more, they're just beyond. This is not an application for a grant. This is beyond that now. This is that consulting on behalf of the client, negotiating. You know, it's sort of like, it's a negotiating thing. Sometimes the damage is being done and they need someone to try and fix it. So it's not.
So it'll be a personal choice whether you do it or not. And
yeah, of course, yeah.
Totally valid for April to go not doing it. pass it on to another, you know, pass it on to, especially if you know an accountant to do it, that's perfect. The amount of knowledge that we had to know over the past 12 months is just, you know, enormous, which makes us, verifies that we are not just a bookkeeper. You know, the business advice that we need to be aware of and advise, it takes us out of the data processor. You know, we are an advisor, we're a BAS advisor, you know, however we want to call ourselves. I mean, we're still doing bookkeeping, but you know, our role will never go away, I don't think. I mean, you know, back in when they came out with the AI, and they're thinking, well, what's so important about a bookkeeper? You know, bookkeepers are going to go because of AI has come in. Well, you know, this is just proof over the past year. It's just proof how important it is for an advisor to be involved with the client on a day-to-day, week-to-week, monthly basis. You know, it's never going to go away. Clients need that touch point, and accountants won't be able to give it to them on the needs basis by the client. So that's my view of the bookkeeping industry. We're here to stay. All right, we're at the top of the hour. If there is no further comments, we will close off the session. And nope, all good.
I just wanted to add, sorry, Jacqueline, it's under Mindset, Dr. Carol Dweck. Did you get that in the message? She's having.
I can't find it on Audible.
Oh, it's sorry, and I accidentally played it before when you were talking, Katrina, but
I've got to go. I've got 1 o'clock. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Helen. Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right, we'll jump off. If you want to I'd maybe put the link in the Facebook group, Sharon. That'd be awesome.
I'll do that. Definitely.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, lovely. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Sharon, for your contribution. Always lovely to chat. Everyone have a great day.
See ya. Bye. See ya.
Bye.